Okay, so I wanted to quickly come on here and talk a little bit about the vitamins or supplements I'm taking to prepare for my second frozen embryo transfer. Some of the questions I've received from you guys about my second frozen embryo transfer, and then questions I'll have for my doctor at my consultation for my FET. So, if that's what you want to hear more about, go ahead and keep watching. All right, so what I'm taking to prepare for my, this is even before the consultation. So I don't know about any transfer dates or protocols or anything. This is just prior to even my consultation. So my consultation is next month. What I'm taking to prepare are my prenatal. So these are the prenatal pills that I was taking during my pregnancy with Sloan. What I like about these is that they have folate, not folic acid. If you want to learn more about the difference, you should just look it up. Only because I don't know, I feel like I shouldn't be telling you guys what you should be taking, but personally, I think folate is better for you than folic acid. Everything is at or above 100% aside from calcium and, what is it? Magnesium. The only thing that's not at 100% is calcium and magnesium. I'm not going to start taking any of those supplements now. Sloan's playing in the background. But I do have this, which I took during my pregnancy. I took a lot of supplements during my pregnancy. So I would take that if I was ever deficient. One of the things that my RE had me on for my last transfer was like, it was leading up to my IVF cycle. So like 50,000 IUs of vitamin D and then 2,000 or 3,000 daily. So I took a weekly 50,000 and then a daily 2,000 or 3,000. But again, I'm not taking all of that. So I'm taking this, and then like a couple times a week, I take the Floradix, which will help with iron levels, red blood cell count, all that stuff. And that's just because I don't want to be deficient in it. I also took this while I was pregnant, and that helped out a lot, especially for my free birth. Some of the questions that I've gotten. Some of the questions that I've gotten from you guys are, will you transfer a boy or a girl? So, if I have 3 kids, I'll eventually transfer a boy. I don't know what order, but I feel like right now I'm not 100% sure that I'm having 3 kids. So I don't know. If I have 3 kids, I would want girl, boy, girl. But if I have 2, then I think maybe another girl. I don't know. The other side of that is like I have huge fears around having a boy. I mean, you can see my shirt. That's how I'm feeling today, and well, every day. But yeah, so I feel like there's like so much thought. I just think like if I can intentionally avoid him having to go through just some of the things that Black boys go through in America, why wouldn't I prevent him from going through them? And the only way to prevent him from going through it is to not have him. But then on the other side, it's like, which I almost think is selfish. Like, is it even fair that I can't have a son because I'm scared that such and such? It's like, it's not like a toy. Like, this is a real human that's going to be going through major things. And I have to decide whether that's something that I'm okay with. I don't know. Yeah, so I honestly don't know. For my last embryo transfer, I was given 2 embryos that were the healthiest. So all of my embryos have been PGS tested, but Sloan was the healthiest girl. And then I have a different embryo that I know is my healthiest boy. So I may just have them thaw the healthiest boy and another girl. And then based on like how things thaw, because sometimes you could lose an embryo through thawing. And so just see how it goes once they thaw. Like the girl may not survive the thaw, the boy may not survive the thaw. So I think I'll have them take 2 embryos out. Remember, I have 14 embryos left. Yeah, so I have 14 embryos left. So I have like, I don't know, options, I guess you could say. The next question that I've been getting is, are you using the same donor? So I did not do an IUI where you like put the sperm in your uterus. I did IVF. So like I just said, I have 14 embryos frozen and they've all been made by the same donor. So yes, I'll be using the same donor, the short answer, but long answer, just so that you understand, is like, it wasn't like a one-time thing where I would have to get more sperm or whatever. It's just a frozen embryo transfer this time. I won't be going through IVF, creating embryos, testing them, etc. And then the last question is, how many kids do you want? So I kind of answered that with the first question. I ultimately want 3 kids, like when I'm an adult, or when I'm an adult, I'm 33. When I'm older, I imagine like 3 kids coming home for like winter breaks and stuff like that. I don't know. I just imagine having 3 kids. But when I think about it like day to day right now, I think 2 would be easy to, I say easy, but I only have 1 and it's kind of difficult, but easier to navigate than 3. But it's like, do you really make your decisions based off what's easiest? I don't know. And then my questions for my doctor. So some of the questions I have for my doctor are, what are the odds of my embryo splitting? So say I just transfer 1 embryo. I mean, I could Google it, but I feel like my doctor is a genius and like a rock star for real. So I just want to hear like her opinion on the matter. Like, what are the odds of it splitting? What's her opinion on whether, because so the odds go up with I think the odds go up with IVF, but I know they go higher with PGS testing because it's kind of like a hole in the embryo, and it's similar to assisted hatching, that there's a hole in the embryo. And I only say similar to assisted hatching in the sense that there's a hole in the embryo. I've said it before, and someone has said like PGS testing is nothing like assisted hatching. And I'm not saying that they're similar. I'm saying that they both create a hole in the embryo. And so ultimately that hole is what can increase your odds of your embryo splitting. And then I think ICSI, which is where they they take 1 sperm and put it, I had to check on Sloan, and put it directly into an egg. I think that raises the chances also, but it's like all of the things that kind of raise the chances of an embryo splitting are all things that I've done. So I would like to know her opinion. And then another question is, odds of multiples more than twins if I ouch. Ow, Sloan. So what are the odds of multiples more than twins if I transfer 2 embryos? So I told you if I have 3, like a boy and a girl, or 2 girls and a boy. Okay, yeah, so if I do transfer 2 embryos, 1 would be a girl, 1 would be a boy. I want to know what she thinks about that. Granted, most facilities, most IVF clinics, at least this is what I hear like on the Facebook groups that I'm in, that they won't transfer more than 1 embryo, and it's like dependent on your age, dependent on the quality of the embryos, etc. So I would just like to hear her opinion. My clinic has allowed people to transfer more than 1 embryo. They have to like sign a release saying that they know like what the risks are, etc. The next question that I have for my doctor is how she feels about a natural transfer versus a medicated transfer. So a medicated transfer for me looked like Lupron injections for like a few weeks preceding the transfer, estrase. Eventually you started taking PO injections, which are your progesterone injections. You would be taking, I want to say, an antibiotic. And then your PO injections continue. And I was also taking aspirin. And your PO injections continue until you're 10 weeks. For a natural transfer, I don't know what that protocol looks like, but I have talked to someone who's recently done a natural transfer. and she still took her estrace and she still did PO injections, but there was no Lupron, or whatever like comparable medication to Lupron is. So I'm really interested to know what her opinion is on that, considering, like I said, I don't have infertility. Yeah, like I don't know what that looks like, because a lot of people say that they were on birth control prior to their transfer so they could transfer at a certain date. The thing is, I was never on birth control prior to a transfer. Um, I don't know how they timed it, honestly. I really don't. And I didn't ask a lot of questions. I really trusted my doctor. And I was actually just on the phone with someone earlier, and she's going through IVF. And I was just telling her how a lot of people don't like when their doctor doesn't talk to them all the time. And I said from January to July, so I started in January, or I had my consultation in February. But from February to July is when I transferred my embryo. I saw my doctor 3 times. I saw her at the consultation, I saw her at my egg retrieval, and I saw her at my embryo transfer. And I was perfectly okay with that. Like, treat me like a number. I really don't care, because every single appointment, I was like, they were reiterating how well I was doing, the progress I was making. Like, there was, like, if there are hangups, if there are questions that aren't being answered, of course I want answers. But any issue I ever had, like, I only remember one issue. There was an ultrasound tech, and this was during my stims, and I had a lot of eggs. I had like 40 eggs or something. So 40 follicles. I was like waddling around. I could like barely walk by the end of it. I could walk. I'm not going to say that because I feel like I'm going to scare people. But I could walk, but it was like uncomfortable. It felt very heavy, like in my abdomen. And I remember I was going in for a monitoring appointment where they count all of your follicles and they like write down the numbers, the measurements, everything. And she left something on the table, like on the counter behind her. And this is when they were using Wanda. They don't use like the the external ultrasound thing. They use the internal, like the stick. And she like balanced it hanging out of my vagina to grab something back here. And I was just like, this lady's joking. She's joking. Like, this can't be real. So I spoke to a nurse about that, and I never saw that lady again. So I might have gotten her fired. I don't know. But literally anything that happened, it was like immediately taken care of. So personally, I didn't mind feeling like a number. I didn't feel like a number. I think maybe because I didn't have any issues. If I had issues and I wasn't seeing the doctor or I wasn't getting answers, then of course I would feel like a number. But I don't know. I feel like I want a doctor that knows exactly what she's doing and gets it done. And that's what I got. So anyways, I feel like I got off track. I don't even know what I was talking about or why I started talking about this. But again, so natural transfer versus the birth control. I was never on birth control. And so every single appointment I would have to give a urine sample and a blood sample. And I feel like they could like track and see where I was based on whatever they were getting from that information, those results. And like I said, I had success on my first transfer, Sloan. What is my last question, winner? Oh, I want to know her transfer dates. So the last question I have for my doctor is, when are her transfer dates? So it might sound superficial, but I would love an Aquarius baby. But and so like with Sloan, I didn't intentionally have her around my birthday. That was just like, there were certain holds, like COVID holds. The only delay I had was in May for a COVID hold, and it was 2020. So everyone was like going crazy about COVID. We had to postpone 1 month, and that was it. So like I said, I didn't try to have her in April near my birthday, but that's just how it happened. But this time I'm like, when are your transfer dates? My last transfer with Sloan was July 24th, and she was born on her due date, April 11th. So I'm curious about her transfer dates. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments, or you guys can message me on Instagram at Life with Alexandra K. If you feel like I haven't thought of a question. I feel like I'm always thinking of questions, but again, like I said, I trust my doctor. And I think I'll ask more questions when she's talking to me at the consultation. But what are some things maybe that you think I may have forgotten about or not thought of that are questions that I should probably be asking about my second frozen embryo transfer? Yeah, let me know what you're thinking.